Sullivan's Crossing may have just hinted at what comes next after one of the most emotional endings the series has ever delivered. And if the clues from the season 4 finale are pointing where I think they are, then the next chapter is not going to be a simple continuation of Maggie and Cal's story. It could be the beginning of something much more complicated. Because while the finale gave us emotional honesty, it did not give us emotional closure. In fact, you could argue that it left almost every major relationship in a more uncertain position than before, and that is exactly why so many fans are already asking the same question: what happens next? Hey everyone, welcome back to Breakdown Insight. As always, if you are a fan of Sullivan's Crossing and you love deep character analysis, theories, predictions, and breakdowns, make sure to subscribe because we have a lot to talk about. And just a quick warning before we begin, this video contains spoilers for Sullivan's Crossing Season 4. Chapter 2, Why Maggie's Choice Was Not the Ending. Now today we are doing something a little different. Instead of breaking down a trailer or an officially released episode, we are diving deep into what a potential episode 11 could look like, where the story might be heading after the finale. It was about choosing a direction, and those are two very different things. Many viewers are focusing entirely on the romantic side of the story, but I think the real story moving forward is much bigger than that, because for the first time in a long time, Maggie seems to have reached a level of emotional clarity. The problem is that clarity does not automatically solve the damage that has already been done, and that brings us directly to Cal. Because if there is one character whose future feels impossible to predict right now, it is him. The reason Cal works so well as a character is because he rarely says exactly what he feels. His biggest emotional moments often happen beneath the surface. The hesitation in his voice, the way he looks at Maggie, the way he steps back when part of him wants to step forward. And that is why I think episode 11 should begin with emotional distance. Not a reunion, not a romantic scene, distance. Because that feels honest. The finale may have opened a door between Maggie and Cal, but opening a door in chapter 3, the real meaning behind Maggie's decision walking through it are two completely different things. If I had to make one major prediction right now, it would be this. Cal is not ready to fully trust the situation yet, not because he does not care, but because caring is exactly what makes it difficult. He has spent too much time protecting himself emotionally, too much time questioning where he stands. Too much time wondering whether he is about to get hurt again, and if the writers want their relationship to feel earned, then they need to allow those emotional scars to remain visible, at least for a little while longer. Now let's talk about the person who may be the most underrated factor moving forward, Liam, because I think fans are underestimating how important he still is to the story. The easy option would be to simply remove Liam from the equation to treat him as a temporary obstacle and move on. But good storytelling rarely takes the easiest route. Liam already changed the emotional landscape of the series. The question now is whether the show wants him to remain part of the conflict or become part of the healing process, and those are very different roles. If episode 11 keeps Liam emotionally connected to Maggie, then the romantic tension remains alive. But if the show begins separating his story from hers, then that could be the first signal that the writers are preparing for a larger, long-term direction. And honestly, either path could work, which is exactly why his next move matters so much. But while everyone focuses on the love triangle, I think there is another character who deserves far more attention. Sully. Because if there is one person who truly represents the heart of Sullivan's Crossing, it is him. And what makes Sully so important is that he often sees things before everyone else does. He understands people. He understands pain. He understands what it means to carry emotional weight for years without letting it break you. That is why I believe episode 11 could feature some of the strongest Sully material we have seen in a long time. Not necessarily because of a major storyline, but chapter 4, why Cal's emotional distance still matters because of his role as an emotional anchor. When people around him are struggling to find direction, Sully often becomes the person helping them find it. And after everything Maggie has been through, she may need that guidance more than ever. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Because what if the biggest story in episode 11 is not romantic at all? What if the real focus is the community itself? One of the reasons Sullivan's Crossing has remained so popular is because the crossing feels alive. It feels like a real place filled with real people. And whenever the show focuses too heavily on one relationship for too long, it eventually returns to the community because that is where the emotional balance comes from. This is why I think episode 11 could spend a lot more time rebuilding the ensemble. Frank, Edna, the younger generation, family relationships, community bonds, all of the things that make the crossing feel like home. In fact, one of my strongest predictions is that the next chapter will remind viewers that life continues even after major emotional decisions. The world does not stop. People still have responsibilities, families still have problems, communities still need each other, and that may be exactly what the story needs right now. Now, let me give you what I call the 3 biggest questions episode 11 must answer. Question number 1. Can Maggie's new sense of direction survive everyday reality? Making a decision is one thing. Living with that decision is something else entirely. Question number 2. Can Cal lower his emotional defenses enough to move forward? Because if he cannot, then even the strongest feelings may not be enough. And question number 3. What role does Liam play from this point onward? Obstacle, friend, future partner, or something completely unexpected? The answer to that question could reshape the entire season. Now, let me make one final prediction, and this is the prediction I feel most confident about. Episode 11 will not be remembered for a major twist, it will be remembered for emotional consequences. Chapter 5, Liam's Future After the Finale. It will be remembered for conversations, for difficult truths, for moments of honesty that force characters to confront who they are and what they really want. Because that has always been where Sullivan's Crossing is strongest. Not in shocking the audience, but in making the audience feel something. And if the writers stay true to that formula, then the next chapter could end up being one of the most emotionally powerful episodes. The chapter 6, The Missing Piece. Everyone is Ignoring series has never been delivered because the finale was never the end of the story. It was simply the moment that changed the story. And now we finally get to see what happens next. But anyway, that is my complete breakdown and prediction for what Sullivan's Crossing episode 11 could look like and where I think this story might be heading after the events of season 4. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Maggie and Cal move closer together? Or Chapter 7, why Sully could become more important than ever? Do you think the emotional distance between them is only beginning?